I'm out here recording again because this is a great place to talk about the Lenape because they summered here. You can hear the highway in the background, so if you hear that, that's what that is. This episode is part of our ongoing irregular and non-chronological series on New Jersey's original people, the Lenape or the Lenape. These stories don't follow a strict timeline. Instead, we follow moments, meanings, and memories, exploring them from ancient traditions and agriculture to peace councils and wars. The Lenape names still echo in New Jersey's rivers, places, towns, streets. The story of the Lenape, the first keepers of this land, their presence shaped everything that came after. So you might be wondering, in this episode, why am I going to talk about William Penn if this is a New Jersey history podcast? Well, because the people Penn met in Pennsylvania, the Lenape, were the original people of the whole region. Their homeland stretched across the Delaware River from Philadelphia to the Jersey Shore, as well as north and south. When William Penn made his famous peace covenant in 1701, it wasn't just Pennsylvania's story, it was New Jersey's story too. The same rivers, the same forests, the same Lenape villages that shaped early New Jersey were part of that promise of peace, a covenant made right here in the heart of the Delaware Valley and in New Jersey. But let's go back, because before there was a Pennsylvania, before there was a Philadelphia or the Liberty Bell or even the dream of a city of brotherly love, there was a debt, a royal debt, and a man named William Penn. Well, two men named William Penn. In the 1660s, King Charles II of England owed a large sum of money, about 16,000 pounds, to Admiral Sir William Penn, a celebrated naval officer who had helped restore the monarchy after the English Civil War. If you don't know about the English Civil War, take a break from this, go look at it a little bit, and then come back. I'm not going to talk about it here. It's too much. I taught an entire semester just on that. When the admiral died, his son, also named William Penn, inherited his father's debt. But instead of demanding repayment in coin, Penn Jr. asked for something different: land. Land where? Land in America. And so in 1681, the king signed a charter granting the younger Penn an immense territory west of the Delaware River, a territory that would be called Pennsylvania, which in Latin means Penn's woods or Penn's wooded area. For most men, that would have been a windfall. For William Penn, it was a mission, a chance to build what he called a holy experiment, a society founded not on conquest but on conscience, a refuge for Quakers like himself and all who sought spiritual freedom, a colony where peace with the native inhabitants was not an afterthought but the very foundation. It's commonly thought that Pennsylvania never had slavery. They did, and William Penn actually had at least 3 enslaved people working for him. Now, that's not the point of this podcast episode, though. When William Penn arrived in 1682, he met with the Lenape, the indigenous peoples of the Delaware Valley, who had long lived along these rivers for thousands of years. Accounts tell of a meeting beneath a great elm at Shackamaxon, near present-day Kensington, Philadelphia. I highly recommend going there to visit for the day and touring the area. That's sarcasm. Don't go to Kensington. Look it up. There, Penn and Lenape leaders exchanged words and gifts pledging friendship. Historian Albert Cook Myers, in William Penn's own account of the Lenape, called it, quote, a covenant of hearts rather than of swords. There were no soldiers, no oaths, no signatures, only trust. Voltaire later wrote that it was, quote, the only treaty between the Indians and Christians that was never sworn to and never broken. Penn returns to England. Nearly 20 years later, he came back to Pennsylvania. He spent much of the 1690s in England, imprisoned once, sued often, financially kind of ruined, and politically outmaneuvered. His holy experiment here in the New World was fraying at the edges. So in December 1699, like I said, he came back. He came back to Pennsylvania for what would be his last final visit. He brought with him his wife, Hannah, and their children, hoping to restore order and renew his vision. He settled at Pennsbury Manor. It's still there. That was his estate overlooking the Delaware River. It was a place of orchards, gardens, and still water. In the autumn of 1701, as Penn prepared to return to England, a council gathered at Pennsbury. A Quaker observer later wrote that all was done in much calmness of temper and in an amicable way. Before him stood representatives of the Lenape and Susquehannock peoples who had come to renew their covenant of friendship. One of them, his name now lost to history, stepped forward. The Native American placed his hand upon his breast once, twice, thrice, and he said that their bond with Penn's people was not written on paper, but made in their hearts. Now, I want to look at the meaning of the number 3. The number 3 carried deep meaning. Decades earlier, a Lenape sachem, meeting with Swedish traders, had stroked his arm 3 times, a token of friendship. Among the Haudenosaunee, or Iroquois, I totally said that name wrong, Karen, so don't come at me. A leader once explained that, quote, "The great being ordered us to send 3 messages of peace before we make war." To the Lenape, 3 meant wholeness, a promise completed in body, spirit, and earth. And though William Penn's Quaker faith shunned ritual, he surely felt the echo of his own creed in the number 3. For Christians like Penn, the divine was triune, just like now. Father, Son, Spirit. Unity in threefold form. Penn would not have said it aloud, but inwardly he must have sensed it. 2 worlds meeting through the same rhythm of completeness. Soon after Penn issued his final frame of government, the Charter of Privileges of 1701, guaranteeing liberty of conscience and local self-rule. That November, he boarded a ship for England. His secretary, James Logan, noted that, quote, "The Indians came to take leave of him before his departure," end quote. Notice that the Native Americans, the Lenape, are coming to meet Penn. They're not shying away from him. They're certainly not afraid of him. There were more Native American people here than colonists. It wasn't fear that would have kept them away. Eventually, they would not like the colonists. That might keep them away. But there's got to be a reason why they keep coming back to Penn. But Penn's holy experiment and the friendship, if you will, with the Lenape didn't last. After Penn's death, his heirs, less idealistic and more pragmatic, one could say, turned his colony into a business. By the 1730s, in the infamous walking purchase, Penn's sons used deception and forged surveys to seize more than 1 million acres of Lenape land. Quaker merchants who once championed peace became wealthy land speculators. The same society of friends that had preached equality and conscience quietly profited from dispossession. I'm trying out with a teleprompter, and I hate it. The covenant of heart gave way to contracts and lawsuits. Penn's dream that peace could be the foundation of government was buried beneath the march of empire. Yet, that image remains. A Lenape elder standing before William Penn, striking his heart 3 times, 3 for completeness, 3 for sincerity, and 3 for peace. It was a covenant not of parchment, but of spirit. A rare moment when faith and diplomacy met at the same pulse. Whether Penn saw the Trinity in that gesture or simply the grace of shared humanity, we can't know. But for a fleeting moment in 1701, beneath that Pennsylvania sky, just across from New Jersey, peace was not an illusion, it was alive. Email me at njhistorypodcast@gmail.com with any questions, ideas for podcast episodes, topics, and also ideas for collaboration. You can find the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all those other ones that I can't remember the name of for the life of me.